In just a second, I'm going to be introducing author Patricia V. Davis. And we got to say the V because there are a lot of Patricia Davises out there. And I am so excited. We're going to be talking about her book that came out in October called Spells and Oregano. And it's just as fun as the title. She's got another one coming out. We're going to talk about that. This book was crazy. Okay. I want to read it again. And I'm going to tell her why as soon as we talk. And it's just that kind of book. And I can't wait to talk to her. So everyone, here is Patricia. Hi everyone. I am so excited because I'm speaking with author Patricia V. Davis. And the V is important because there are a lot of Patricia Davises out there when I looked it up. So the V is important, just like you said. We're going to be talking about her brand new book called Spells and Oregano, but it is the second of the trilogy. She's got both of them with her. She's going to show us the covers because I love the covers of these books so much. They're just so beautiful. So hold them up so everybody can see them.
Hold them up. Okay. There's Cooking for Ghosts.
Love that.
Which has the Queen Mary on
Yes.
it. And here she is again on Spells and Oregano.
I love these covers. They are
Thank
so
you.
beautiful.
Thank you. I think they did a beautiful job. And what I love about the paperbacks is that they've even put a design in the interior. I don't know if you can see.
I love it. Yes.
Which is actually from textiles that you can find on the Queen Mary. So that's pretty awesome. It's pretty fun. Yeah. Yeah, the designer, she went to town on this one. She really enjoyed it. She likes Art Deco, and the whole ship is Art Deco. So she made sure to put those elements into the book. So I really love it. I think she did a great job. So
yeah, I cannot wait to read the next one. When is that coming out?
Oh my gosh, well that one's not going to come out until October 2019. So we have more than a year to go on that one. And the reason for that is because the Queen Mary, which is down in Long Beach, it's an actual ship. A lot of people are not aware of that. It is instituting a secret spice cafe dinner and tour. So you'll actually be able to go down there, have some of the dishes that are discussed in the books, even though there are no recipes in the books, there are some dishes discussed in the books, and take a tour of the ship, of the parts of the ship that are mentioned in the book. And so that's going to take place in September of 2019. It takes a while to get these things going. And anyone who attends will get to be the first to see the final in the trilogy.
Oh my gosh, I already want to come. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing.
Research. It's work research. That's what you have to tell yourself. So.
Yeah, because I've never been there. I was just in California, and I'm always. I lived in Southern California for a while.
But did you? Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I've never been there, and I'm like kicking myself because I'm like, that would have been something to see.
Well, I'm sure it'll be there it's already been, in fact, they just celebrated 50 years in Long Beach, but the ship is actually 81 years old. So it was at one time the most luxurious ocean liner that was sailing. And then it became a troop ship during World War II as well, and they actually gutted the whole thing. They took out all the beautiful Art Deco things and the furnishings, and they put... there were at one point 15,000 young men from World War II who were sailing on that ship because she was the fastest. She was the only one that could outrun Hitler's U-boats. Wow. So there is a lot of history on that ship, a lot. It went from luxury to where, people like Clark Gable were on the ship and Elizabeth Taylor, and then it became a troop ship and then went back to sailing again. Until 1967, when she retired and Long Beach bought her, and it's been open as a hotel and museum for the last 50 years.
Wow. I wanted to see if Amazon listed this as historical because there's so much, when you look at these covers, these books are so much fun, but then the history that I learned reading it, I love the research that you did, that you put into these books.
It's so funny that you should say that because I mean it's classified as magical realism because there's the elements, the magic elements in it. But it's a real life situation of women who open a restaurant on the ship. Um, and there is, I mean, I've put a lot of history, woven it into the story,
Yes.
but I guess it really wouldn't classify as historical fiction because, first of all, it takes place modern day. And second of all, you know, it's like it's one of those. It gets iffy. I think if people were looking for historical fiction, they'd be disappointed because it's not quite that.
Right.
But it's better. It's safer to say that it is. It's really mostly a story about friendship and going
Yes.
into business and bettering oneself and all that, but just with a lot of fun, you know, elements thrown in there just to make it
Absolutely.
interesting. So,
Absolutely. And as I was reading the books today, I was walking around thinking about our interview and kind of preparing. And I have so much that needs to get done. Right now, I'm like in this like crazy like, and I was like, I wish I could just, I'm of the age group of Bewitched and I Dream a Genie, and I was thinking of your book, and I was like, remember, like, just blinking or snapping, and it just all gets done. It's like,
it would be nice. It would absolutely be nice if we. I think that's part of one of the characters in book two has all these, you
yeah.
know, abilities, and um, yeah, there's some wish fulfillment in that for sure.
Yeah,
So.
because even growing up as a little girl, like I used to practice. I used to think, well, if I blink right, or if I do it, if I do it the right way, I can get this to work. Right.
It
There
would be
were
terrific.
hours spent on this. Okay.
It would be terrific. There's no doubt about it. It would
If
be
it was that
terrific.
easy. Yeah, exactly. Well, I have so many questions for you. First of all, you talk about at the end of the book that you met David Copperfield, which was, so I wanted to hear the story about that because that plays a huge part in these books.
Um, well, let's see. First of all, I did not meet him in person. I spoke to
Oh,
him over the telephone for over an hour, and he's a wonderful human being. I'll say that right out. He's very, very into literature. And originally, when I was doing the second book, even though most of it is still, you know, on the ship, there's a section at the beginning
hmm,
where there are two magicians who have a Las Vegas magic act. And so I started thinking, I don't know anything at all about how a magic show is run. Nothing. And there has to be some, I mean, what do they do? Do they sign non-disclosure agreements? Like, how does it work? How do you do it? And so my publicist said, well, you know what? I'll try to get in touch with the stage manager for David Copperfield's show. Maybe you can go down there and sign something and they'll let you see it, or you can talk to the stage manager. And so she contacted the stage manager, and then the stage manager got back to me personally and said, Mr. Copperfield will talk to you on such and such a date, and you can ask him whatever questions you wanted. And I freaked. I
wow.
so fangirled it because I just think he's wonderful. He is apart from being so talented, he's also, you know, benevolent. He does a lot for charities and so forth, and he's been a big fan of literature. In fact, he has written a book himself. So, and we were born in the same area, so that was like I couldn't wait to speak to him. I was really surprised that he would speak to me, and he did. He answered all my questions, everything that is in the magic part, the part about the show, is all from the discussions that I had with him. And he said to me, well, you know, you have my telephone number now, so if you need anything else, just give me a call. And that was really just kind of mind-boggling.
That's
He's quite a
crazy.
nice person for sure, and a very hard worker, which is really amazing. He works something like, I think, I don't know, he does 60 hours a week or something. So, and
Wow.
probably doesn't have to anymore. So I know it's a passion of his.
Well, you
So
know
yeah,
what I
that
remember
was
about
fun.
him? Yeah, growing up is like he was like the class magician. Like he was so
Yes.
classy. And
Yeah,
so,
I still think he is, quite
yeah.
frankly. I think he really is. He's definitely upheld and uh, very soft spoken. much more humble than you might think he'd be, and so forth. He's really one of those remarkable people. So
Yeah, like when
so
he would take the
fun.
stage, there was like a presence. It was
Yeah.
like that's how I thought. Just seeing him
Yeah, so
speak.
it was really a lot of fun to talk to him
Oh,
for sure.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
But I'll tell you, the research on these things, I had gotten to talk to so many, I got to talk to a judo expert to find out, like, okay, how do you strangle someone? How would you do it? Because I have no idea.
Right.
And so I talked to a judo expert. I've talked to ship aficionados, like people that I remember at one point, there's some, not to spoil anything, but, somebody has to be dragged from one place to another on the
Right.
ship. Well, how do you get there? And so we spent like all this time trying to figure out, like, well, that lift is still working, so would they go up the lift, and where would they be on the sun deck? And so a lot of people helped me with a lot of stuff to try to get all the details just right, so that if you've been on the ship, you'll say, okay, she's obviously knows what she's talking about, because there's nothing jarring, at least I hope not, nothing that comes across as just made up.
Yeah,
So.
that's what I loved. I really did. I mean, not that the story is amazing, but I could just tell like all the research that you put into it, and it just adds another element to the story because it's not like all just out of your head. It's like there's history there. There's
Well,
details there.
I think if you, sorry to interrupt, I was just going to say, like, you have to respect your reader. I think if you, like, I mean, there was even a chef at one point that I spoke to, because I don't know how to run a kitchen. And the thing is, if you're reading something and you happen to know about whatever it is, whether it's, running a restaurant or even law, maritime law, if it hits your ear and you go, that's not right, it
Right.
just kind of takes you out of the story. One of the best things that happened was there was a work in progress reader. A lot of authors, after you finish the book and stuff, you send it out to people just to get feedback, okay?
Right.
And so one of my work in progress readers actually happened to be a Texas businessman, okay? And he was reading the part where not to reveal it, someone is flying and that person has a private plane. So, I don't know anything about private planes. The only thing that I know is that a Learjet is a private plane.
Right.
And so that's what I had written in. I'd written in that it was a Learjet, and he came back and he said, this is not right. This is too small a plane. This would never get from where you have it going from where you have it started to where it's going. You need a different kind of a private plane, and he told me which plane to put in there. Oh. So everybody had missed that, the editors, everyone, because who knows about private planes. Right. So that's just like some of the little things, the fun things that I enjoyed about this was all the things I learned from so many people.
So much fun. And so what can you tell us about the third one? I mean, since we do have some time, is it written, or are you still writing it?
I am still writing it. Okay. I'm revising it at this point. And the thing is that I never meant for this to be a diverse book, but a lot of the characters come from different parts of the world, and that is actually through my own experience. These are based on women I've actually met. Mm-hmm. So in the first book, one of the characters' grandmothers is mentioned, and she is a Creole. She is a voodoo priestess. She's just mentioned. You probably don't even remember it in the first book. She's just briefly mentioned, and then in the second book, that character is grown up. She was 16 in the first book, and she's 26 in the second book, and she's talking about some of her abilities, if you will, and she mentions again her grandmother, her voodoo priestess grandmother. And this time she goes into a little more detail about it. And so my literary agent actually said, we do get to meet this priestess eventually, don't we? I was like, yes, as a matter of fact, we do. So she's going to be in book 3. And you kind of have to imagine, like, how does a voodoo priestess from Louisiana end up on an English ship? Like, what is the connection between the two, between the Queen Mary and the voodoo priestess? And so that was a lot of fun, coming up with that story and how they connect. And again, it all gets back to women and relationships
Mm-hmm.
and how much we are alike, even though
Yes.
we think we're different. But we are actually much more alike than um, we might believe. As you get to know different people from different places and different backgrounds, different religions, different politics, at the end of the day, we're all women, and we should all be helping each other, and that's kind of what it's the crux,
Yeah.
of the stories there. So
Well, they were so much fun. I love a fun book. Okay, and they
thank
were so
you.
much fun to read. I mean, it was right up my alley. I love reading about. Oh, it was just. It was. I don't want to tell too much about it, but it was really, really good book to read, and I cannot wait. I am going to see what I can do about getting there next September. That would be
Oh my
so
gosh, that would be
much
wonderful.
fun.
Ah,
That
I'd
would be.
love to meet you in person there.
Oh, that
That
would
would be
be.
so cool.
It would be so much fun to be at the
Yeah.
launch party for this. That would be so cool. So, and if we'll see what we can do about that. And so show everybody the covers again because these are
Okay.
amazing covers. I love, love, love. I mean, there were, and you know what? I didn't even see that face until seeing this
Well, there's
because
actually, if you look closely, there are four of them because there's four women. So,
yes,
did you have a copy of this, or did you get an ebook of
I got
it?
an ebook, and so
Oh,
I
well,
could
I'll
not.
send it to you. I'm happy to send it to you. So, yeah, you get a better look at it. So, there's, there are four different women on the cover at the top here because there are four characters. And then the ship design is, of course, Art Deco and everything
Yeah,
else. And this down here is the paprika because he mentions that
yeah.
spice. And the second one, same face.
Oh, look at that.
This. She's just looking differently
Yes.
because this is actually um, these three women, there's actually one woman missing because
Right.
the fifth one is the teenage girl, and here she is again as an adult. And those are the twin magicians,
Yes.
sorry.
Yeah.
And there's the Queen Mary again. And there is the oregano color
Oregano.
down in the.
Oh, that is so amazing.
Yeah,
That is
yeah,
so,
it's
you must
fun.
be so thrilled with those covers. I love them.
I'm
Yeah.
very pleased with them. Yeah, I'm very happy that the designer
Yeah.
enjoyed it. They did a really good job. I was very lucky. So.
Yeah. Well, it was so nice meeting you, and
Nice to meet
I
you
hope to
too.
meet you there. That would be so much fun.
Definitely, and send me your address. I'm happy to send you a copy of the
Oh, great.
paperback.
Everybody, I will have all of Patricia's links listed underneath here. Go over to Instagram because we will have a book giveaway, and that's always a lot of fun. So, anyway, thank you for your time. Thank you so much for, letting me
Thank you
read your
for having
books.
me. It was really charming. It was
Uh-uh.
really charming to meet you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Everyone, thank you for watching the video. I had no idea what to expect because these books are really, if you love magic, you are going to love these books and ghosts and I don't just everything kind of supernatural, but in a fun way. But she did her research. I'm telling you, you're going to learn a lot. And I love a book that teaches me things that I didn't know and woven into a really fun story. It was just perfect. So anyway, her links are listed below. I can't wait for the third one. I hope I go to Long Beach and meet her and get to go on the ship. We'll see what happens. Thank you, everyone.